Hello! If you are following me, you remember my pure wool walking skirts. I wanted to wash them or sacrifice them for the sake of this video. My 1898 walking skirt was lined with a very good quality 100% cotton poplin. For the hem facing, I used a Tiffer cotton of dubious quality. Before making the skirt, I pre-washed everything. I even washed the trimming before attaching it. Altogether, I had 4 different kinds of fabric. My Edwardian inspired walking skirt was lined with the lawn type cotton, the quality of which I wasn't happy with. I finished the hem with twill tape. I lined the yoke with another cotton and I also interlined it with another cotton fabric. So altogether I had 5 different fabrics. This was a great concern as I expected them to behave differently in the wash. At first, I wanted to experiment with the wools. I wanted to know how easy or difficult they were to rein. I cut random shapes where I had bias, straight and cross grain edges as well. I drew around the shapes on a piece of packing paper. The third piece of fabric is from the fabric I used for my cape. I boiled some water. I put the fabric pieces in the hot water. The water remained clear, so all the fabrics were color fast. By the way, before I pre-wash my fabrics, at first I always soak them for a couple of minutes in a basin to check whether they are color fast. When you put them straight in the machine, you can only tell they aren't color fast when they've ruined your other garments. I let them soak for 10 minutes. They looked quite alright. This is what they looked like after drying. After ironing them, I checked how much they changed. So this is the result after basically cooking my wool. Modern wool fabrics tolerate bad handling, well, I thought. Of course, I wasn't going to cook my skirts. For the 2 skirts, I used about a 1/3 cup of soap now detergent. I never use anything else. According to Google, it's safe to use on wool. My washing machine has a wool cycle, but it is 65 minutes long. That's too long. You don't want your wool to soak for an hour. Even after my experiment with hot water, that's a big no-no. So I decided on the 30-minute cycle. And here you can see my mistake. I didn't set the spin speed lower. Water plus soap plus violent agitation can result in felting. I realized the mistake a bit too late, so I stopped the machine too late. They looked ruined. I checked the seams, the linings, hem facings. The grey skirt seemed alright, only the hem facing seemed to have shrunk a bit. I couldn't see it, but I could feel it as I was stroking the wool. I could feel the difference. I gently pulled on it, which fixed the problem. I kept turning them so that they could dry more quickly. In the open air, they took about 4 hours. I grew up in the countryside. I would never use a tumble. Both skirts were made from high-quality wool, however, they behave differently. The great skirt survived the washing very well. I will be able to wash it in the future. Unfortunately, the other skirt shrank. It kept its shape beautifully, but became an awful lot shorter in the back. I don't understand why in the back only. Fortunately, I had made the back longer because that's how I prefer my skirts. I will have to add pin tucks on the matching petticoat. It also feels a bit felted. Luckily, it is still wearable. My piece of advice: don't wash wool. If you wonder whether I used the wrong cycle, no, I didn't. I used the same cycle to pre-wash my fabrics, I used the same detergent, I used the same cycle and detergent to wash my winter coats with wool content. This is my first mishap. My conclusion: you never know with wool. If you want a washable skirt, use linen. And now I need time to let it go.